Reading comprehension across disciplines, understanding the written word. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of KZ Academy. I'm Misty, a credentialed teacher with over 20 years of experience in second language acquisition, mathematics, and elementary education. Through teaching, coaching, and tutoring, I've dedicated my career to helping students, parents, and educators understand the science behind how we learn. This episode is inspired by posts I have been making since 2018 in online forums, which helped lay the groundwork for what is now known as the science of reading. Many of the key ideas that Emily Hanford later presented as her research were already being discussed and shared by me in these forums before she brought them to a wider audience. It's gratifying to see that the techniques I've been refining for over 20 years are now being embraced across America. Her voice played a crucial role in raising awareness and bringing these ideas into the mainstream. Disciplinary literacy. In today's episode, we're exploring the idea of disciplinary literacy, what it means, why it matters, and how it shapes the way students learn across subject areas in school. Around third grade, students begin to shift from learning to read to reading to learn. And while reading is the foundation for reading comprehension, the comprehension component isn't a one-size-fits-all skill. In fact, it's not even a one-size-fits-most skill. Once students can decode text, understanding it depends on what they're reading and the kind of thinking it demands. Being able to read the words is different from truly understanding them. A third grader might be able to read a paragraph fluently in a high school science textbook, but still have no idea what the key vocabulary terms mean. That's because comprehension isn't just about decoding words. It's about grasping the meaning behind them. And the type of thinking required to make that meaning clear varies from one subject to another. Reading and understanding a science article isn't the same as analyzing a historical document or interpreting a poem. Each discipline has its own language and structure. That's what disciplinary literacy is all about, helping students read, write, and think like scientists, historians, mathematicians, and more. As I mentioned in another episode, you can't work on reading comprehension if the students can't read the words. None of that comprehension matters without a solid foundation in reading. Decoding and fluency come first. Reading comprehension is a layered skill, and it starts with being able to read the words on the page. Only once students can decode and read fluently can they begin to understand the meaning behind those words. Reading comprehension evolves with the content. To help students succeed across subjects, we need to show them how to read within each academic discipline. So let's take a closer look at what this actually looks like in practice. The foundation of reading. Reading comprehension begins with reading itself. Without strong decoding and fluency, reading comprehension can't happen, no matter the subject. A student who struggles to read fluently will struggle to understand the content being delivered through written words in a novel, a science article, a history text, or a math word problem. This is why the early years matter so much. We can't skip the foundational step of learning to read. We have to build decoding and fluency before we can build vocabulary and expect students to make meaning from text in any subject area. The shift to reading comprehension. Once students are reading fluently, typically by third grade, the focus shifts to comprehension. But reading comprehension isn't just about reading the words. It's about understanding what you're reading and what it's about. That's why comprehension looks different across academic disciplines. Each subject requires different strategies to make meaning from the text. Reading comprehension isn't a single skill. It's a collection of different skills that vary by subject. Comprehending a written story is not the same as understanding a written scientific explanation. That's different again from analyzing a transcript of a written historical speech or solving a written math word problem. Each subject brings its own vocabulary, structures, and way of thinking, and students need to learn how to approach these various texts with those differences in mind. Reading comprehension is not the same as literacy. Working on literacy isn't always the same as working on reading comprehension. Literacy is a broad term. It includes speaking, listening, viewing, writing, and reading. And while it supports comprehension across content areas, it can sometimes bypass the reading altogether. With today's technology, students can build knowledge by watching videos, listening to podcasts, or engaging in classroom discussions. These are valuable skills and ways to develop understanding, but they don't build reading comprehension. They just build comprehension. Reading comprehension depends on reading, and reading itself, decoding and fluency, must come first. If a student can't read the words on the page, they can't develop the skills needed to comprehend what those words mean. Reading comprehension can only happen after a person is able to read. A student might know a lot about a topic from listening or viewing, but still struggle to read about it or write coherently on the subject. That's why reading comprehension and general literacy need to work together. Both are important. However, for students to truly demonstrate their reading comprehension skills, the ability to read the words on the page can't be skipped. Disciplinary literacy. Disciplinary literacy is about the ability to read, write, and think like a person within a specific field. A scientist reads to evaluate data, understand systems, and spot patterns. A historian reads to examine sources, question perspectives, and analyze causes and effects. A mathematician reads for precision and logic, decoding symbols, and possibly even sentences. A literary scholar reads to explore characters, theme, tone, and symbolism. These aren't just different subjects. They represent entirely different ways to think. And we can't assume that once a child learns to read, they automatically know how to navigate all of them, or any of them for that matter. The misconception. There's a common belief that once students learn to decode, the hardest part of reading comprehension is behind them. However, the comprehension part of reading comprehension will not just happen on its own. Decoding is only the beginning. Reading comprehension takes more than just reading words. It requires learning new vocabulary, developing deeper thinking skills, and understanding how to make meaning from what's read. And that vocabulary and thinking isn't the same in every subject. Reading in science, history, or math requires different types of comprehension. That's why broad strategies like find the main idea or summarize the passage often fall short. They don't prepare students for the specific ways each subject asks them to think and understand. Why literacy matters. By middle school, content becomes more specialized. At this stage, students are expected to be proficient in reading to learn. But more and more teachers are discovering that students haven't actually been taught how to read within different subject areas. They haven't developed the subject-specific comprehension strategies that fall under the broader concept of disciplinary literacy. Not every subject is an English language arts class. Disciplinary literacy isn't just about reading. It's about thinking like a scientist, a historian, a mathematician, or a literary scholar. It's about helping students make sense of complex ideas in ways that are unique to each discipline. Every subject asks students to engage with text differently. Teaching them how to do that is essential. It's how we make learning meaningful, and it's how we give students the tools they need to succeed not just in school, but in life. Reading isn't just about decoding words, and reading comprehension isn't just about choosing the right answer on a test. It's about engaging with knowledge in all its forms, across all subjects. If we want students to be successful, we must do two things. One, build a strong foundation in reading by starting early and teaching with intention. Two, teaching them how to comprehend within each discipline by reading, writing, and thinking like scientists, historians, mathematicians, and literary scholars. True understanding doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from giving students the tools they need to think critically and engage deeply with the content they encounter. Let's build literacy that lasts. Let's build early, strong, and with purpose. Our students' future depends on it. If you found this discussion helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring the fascinating world of education. Practical tips and resources. In upcoming episodes, we'll explore practical strategies for effective reading instruction. But if you're eager to get started now, check out my Learn to Read Teacher's Manuals Volumes 1 and 2 and the Student Learn to Read and Write Journal. These resources offer a clear, systematic path for teaching letter recognition, phonics, and blending. It's like having your very own step-by-step guide for reading instruction. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.